Hey guys, what's up? It is Josh Thomas here, back with another Fanshare Sports course preview this week for the Medinah Country Club, the host of this week's BMW Championship, the second event of the FedEx Cup Playoffs, where we now have the top 70 in the FedEx Cup standings. Moving on, we have a no-cut event this week, so all of these guys will be playing all 4 rounds here at Medinah Country Club. It is a long golf course, like really long, but it's a very interesting test of golf. It's hosted a couple of major championships here, and most notably, I believe the 99 and 2006 PGA Championships and the 2011 Miracle at Medinah. It's a fun course, and looking forward to breaking it down for you guys, and hopefully we can find you a little bit of an edge for DFS this week, since there's not a ton of information on this course, since we haven't had a stroke play event here since 2006. Before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to our free roll winners, Rental Zero and Z-Man Bama Fan. We're the two that were the top 2 in the Fanshare Sports free roll. So these two will get invited to a 4-man, not this week, but next week for the Tour Championship, with the winners of this week's free roll contest, which I'll get up tomorrow once pricing comes out. Make sure that you pay attention to my Twitter at DFS Up North. You can find that link. I'll send it out there, and we'll get people signed up. Only 50 spots. Last week we filled it in like 2 hours. So again, that Fanshare Sports free roll, the top 2 last week, top 2 this week, will enter into a 4-man. The winner of that 4-man at the Tour Championship will get a NFL subscription for 2019 season. I believe that's like a $99 value, which is awesome. Really excited for NFL. It's coming up here sooner than you think. We just wrapped up week 1 of preseason. If you do not get into that free roll and still want to become a Fanshare Sports NFL sub, you can use that promo code Josh for 20% off any subscription. Tons of great stuff this year. Not only are we, have the best ownership projections in the game, but I think that we have a great content team here too. So excited about some of the stuff that's coming out for that on the content side, along with the ownership as we head into the NFL season here. So again, we'll get those free rolls going here. You can follow my Twitter account at DFS Up North, and we will get you signed up. And again, you got to be on top of it because it's going to happen quick. I mean, last week, like I said, 2 hours and we were done. Going back quick to last week, again, Patrick Reed, the winner there. Harold Varner, the second, was, I think, fourth. Lee Aldrich, DK Golf Bargains. If you are not reading his article, the under the radar value plays every week, like, you have to. The guy is on fire. He nailed Patrick Reed, nailed Harold Varner, all over Jason Kokrak. Just really, like, if you're building cash games and you're not reading that article every week, it's free, which is insane, right? That sort of quality content shouldn't be free. It should be behind a paywall somewhere. But Lee is putting out just gems. Guy's on fire. He almost hit an outright on Harold Varner the third this week. Who owned Harold Varner, right? Like, he was 1% owned, and Lee was all over him. Really just crushing. So if you're not reading that, you need to. Medinah. Okay, again, most of you probably remember it from the 2012 Ryder Cup, the Miracle at Medinah, where the Europeans came back from a big-time deficit in singles and came back and won. If you remember, Martin Keimer dropped a putt there to knock out Steve Stricker. And then just weirdly, like, Tiger still had to keep playing guys at the end, which was insane. But a disappointing Sunday, to say the least, but it only made that victory at Hazeltine in 2016 even better, which I was there for. Other events, Tiger, 2-time major winner here, won the 99 and the 2006 PGA. You might remember 2006, that was one that Sean McKeel contended in. Sergio, a younger, actually it was the 99 one that Sergio hit that shot from behind the tree, running up the hill, jumping on 16 there to see where his ball landed on the green. That was 99 when Sergio was just breaking onto the scene. But a lot of great history here. An older club, it's a beautiful clubhouse. It's a pristine setting for golf. It's a Tom Bendelow original. Bendelow was a kind of a Harry S. Colt, A.W. Tillinghast disciple. Designed this golf course. Actually, I believe he designed all 3 of the courses on the court in this facility. And Tom Doak did one of the courses, redid it, and then Reese Jones, I believe, did both the other 2, including this one. And that redesign actually came after 2006 PGA. So while we don't have not only do we not have a ton of stroke play data on this course, but the course has been not vastly, but pretty significantly changed since 2006 with that Reese Jones redesign. And not only has it been different, but the grass surfaces has changed. They went from POA to bent, and it's a different course to say the least. Course record here is 63. Harry Light Horse Cooper at the 1930 Medinah Open. I don't know why he had that nickname. I tried to look it up. They called him Unlucky Harry too, because apparently he had a couple of close run-ins at majors and never quite got her done. The keys here. We got par 72. It's 7,657 yards. It is long. Not only is it, but it's long, but it's got drivable par 4 on it. So it's a long course. It's an interesting course in the way that it's set up. There's lots of dog legs left and right, which we'll look at here. And it's actually a course that you I think, while it's long, you can't really overpower it because of the trees. There's tons of overhanging trees on this course. And putting yourself in the right spot in the fairway, not just to attack these greens, but to be out of tree trouble is going to be huge. So I really think there's going to be an emphasis placed on driving accuracy this week, despite it being a very long course. So while I think you'll hear people talking about, oh man, it's long, we got to play drivers, we got to play bombers, things like that. Yeah, you want to play guys that are long, but just as important as long, I think, as being in the right spots in these fairways. Bent grass, which they played last week. The rough Kentucky bluegrass, standard for the Midwest. The one thing that I saw in the paper, and I believe it was the Chicago Tribune, the head course pro there was talking about how they're letting this rough grow up. 4 inches plus. So, again, you got to be in the right spots in the fairway. Avoid the tree trouble, be able to attack these pins, but you get in the rough, you're in big time trouble here. If it's that long, it's going to be tough. Again, previous winners, we had Tiger back-to-back. We had the Europeans in 2012, and Hale Irwin won the U.S. Open in 1990. So this is a prestigious private club in the Chicago area. The members play a ton of golf on it every year, so I believe that it's going to be... It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be worn. Obviously, I'm sure they've been hitting off mats for a while, getting ready for this. But you can't just tell your members that they can't play for 3 months or 4 months all summer. So it'll be in good shape. I have no question about that, especially with the bent. The BMW, not the BMC Championship at Medinah's number 3 course. It's a par 72, 7657. Like we said, there are 0 short par 3s, but we have 4 long par 3s, including the 13th, which is 244 yards. That's incredibly long. That's like a cut driver for me. That's a long hole. No short par 4s, lots of medium par 4s and long par 4s, right? No par 4s over 500 like we've seen a little bit recently, but a lot of long par 4s that are dog legs, and they some of them you're not going to be able to hit driver on. You're going to have to hit hybrid. You're going to have to hit driving iron. You're going to have to hit 3-wood just to put yourself in that position in the fairway. And then you're going to have to hit some long irons into these pretty heavily bunkered greens for the most part. A lot of the greens are sloped back to front or left to right. So it's I think we're going to see double digits under par here just because that's kind of been the way it's looked in the past. But there's bogeys out there. There's double bogeys out there. There's some tough holes here. The par 5s where you really got to make your hay. All pretty long. 1 short one, 3 long ones. All the 3 long ones are 575 yards or longer, with a 605-yard par 5 14th. That's the only one that I think that you're really gonna have a hard time getting there in 2, just because of the way the tee shot is set up. So maybe not as many eagles there, but I think the rest of them you can find yourself looking at an eagle. And then you have which hole number here are we looking at? We'll get to it. There's a par 4 that is drivable depending on the way the tees are set up, and that can be an exciting hole too. So similar to last week, I'm going to go, since we don't have a ton of data on approach shots and things like that, I'm actually going to go through and look at each hole by hole, talk a little bit about it, talk about what you need to do well here. Again, the Medinah website has great course descriptions, great hole-by-hole analysis, so if you want to look at that as well, you can. Start off hole number 1, fairly easy, straightforward hole. Kind of, I don't know if it lulls you to sleep, but you get started on one and you think, oh, okay, well, this is going to be too bad. 434 yards, not long by any means. It actually did play a little over par in 2006. It's an easy hole to lay up on. The green kind of, or the fairway canters as you get closer to the pin. So if you don't want to be playing off an angled lie with the ball below or above your feet, you're going to want to lay up a little bit back here. And even if you do hit 3-wood or hybrid, you're still looking at, from 290 yards to a 150 yard shot. So 250 yards to 180 yard shot. That's not a crazy long approach shot by any means. You see on the back of this green, that collection area. That's something that Reese Jones is well known for, is these collection areas off the green. So if you're not perfect with your iron shot, it's going to roll back off into there, and that can be, depending on where the pin is, those can be some very difficult up and downs. The green is fairly thin, and that makes it difficult to hit. There's bunker front and left, so you see that it's an inviting pin in that it has that ramp up to it that you can kind of, it looks like it's easy to access, but just with how thin it is in the runoff in the back, it's a difficult green to hit. So that's why I think we saw this play a little bit over par in 2006. But you can definitely get there if you look at the model or the little picture of the green there. That ridge that runs right through the middle that kicks balls left or right. That's something that's, again, very common here at Medinah, and we'll see a lot. So that back right pin position, if you can catch that ridge, it's going to funnel that ball right down into the green, and you can make a birdie here. Hole number 2, par 3. You'll see all of these par 3s have some sort of water carry on them. The traditional wind here is left to right from that picture, so it's going to be blowing it away from the water, but it's also going to be into your face. So we'll see guys come up short here a little bit. It played a little bit over par. There's, again, a big hump in the middle of the green, right? That's going to be a lot of our landing zones for players. They're going to be looking for those humps in the greens to play that left or right of it. But again, a challenging shot. 191 isn't short by any means. A difficult par 3. If you can get through holes 1 and 2 and you're 1 under, you're feeling really good about yourself as you move along here. Hole number 3. This is where we start to see these slight dog legs, right? And we start to see some tree trouble come into play. So those big trees, those big oaks on the left are going to overhang. They're going to come into play if you're too close to them. One thing that Reese Jones does is he sets up fairway bunkers as kind of aiming points. So guys are going to look at those fairway bunkers, start at the ball there, and try to bring the ball back left. So there's a lot of right to left shots here. So it's going to favor a righty that can hit a draw. You might hear that some this week. It might be, if you're in the trending topics tab, right to left ball flight might have some tags. Here's the deal. Some guys naturally flight the ball right to left. Some guys naturally flight the ball left to right. Guys don't get onto the professional tour not being able to hit the ball one way or the other, or being able to hit it both ways. Brooks traditionally hits a right to left ball flight, right? This should set up well for him. If it was the other way, would you not play Brooks here because he can't hit a left to right? No, that's insane. Okay, so don't fall into those sort of traps. It's the same thing as like an apex height. Like, guys can hit a high, guys can hit a hole. Yes, Jason Day hits it super high into the air. Can he hit a low stinger? Absolutely. He's Jason Day. He can do this, right? So, again, trees come into play here. We have a little bit of an elevated green. The green does slope back to front. A lot of these greens will. So, the key is always, at these greens that slope back to front, you want to be below the hole, okay? And that also means for anything that carries, right? So, if you're off on an iron here and you carry it past this green, right, now you're chipping back onto the green. It's coming downhill. That's a very difficult shot to keep close to the hole. Hole number 4, you look at this picture here and it's insane that it played over par, but the real issue here is that the fair, you can't tell as much, but the fairway pitches right to left heavily. Okay, so anything that's on the left side of this fairway that lands, and not a super wide fairway by any means, anything on the left side is going to kick into the rough and make a very difficult shot into the unelevated green that, again, slopes back to front, and you need to make sure that you're below the hole. So driving accuracy, right? You need to find, this is a long course. You still need to find the fairway here. So guys that are gaining strokes off the tee, guys that are accurate off the tee, I think that's going to be key. And then again, approach game as usual, where you need to keep the ball in the right spots. That's going to be big as well. Finally, a birdie hole. We have a short par 5. I believe this played as the easiest hole in 2006. You kind of see these bunkers up the right, and then the one that pushes in, that's not going to be in play. A fairly wide landing area for the greens, for the fairway. As long as you're not right in these bunkers, you're likely looking at getting there in 2, and you're likely looking at an eagle. Again, I think the further up here you are, the better, because with an elevated green, it's difficult to hold. So I want a shorter club in my hand than anything. So I think this hole, while I think everybody can birdie it, I think if we're looking at eagles, we're looking at some of the bombers here. Hole number 6, now this one goes right to left. Again, we have those bunkers up the left side that Reese Jones puts in. They'll collect balls that stay straight, and anything, most guys will aim at them and try to carry it to the right. Some of these oaks up the right will come into play. There's a big ridge in the green that are going to funnel balls back to the pin, and then like I said, these trees up the right will come into play really only if you're in the rough. Anything in the rough, you're not going to be able to turn the ball over or cut the ball around these. You're going to basically have to punch out and have a 100 or 75 yard shot into a difficult green, which definitely brings bogey into play as we're looking there. Played .196 over par in 2006. Would imagine something similar here. Big dog leg right, par 5, 617 yards. This is the one that I said is going to be difficult to get to in 2. Oops, sorry about that. They've actually lengthened this since 2006, so I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that score actually go down a little bit here. Play a little closer to even par just because of how long this is. You need to be up the left side, but you need to avoid those bunkers, right? Anything up the right side, you're not going to be able to get there in 2 no matter what, because you're going to be trapped by the trees. So stay up on the left, and then you're kind of aiming at that bunker about 87 yards out. That'll leave you around 75 to 100 yards pitch shot into this green. Some big ridges in this green. It's not they're basically on the outside, so any pins towards the middle, it's going to be a fairly flat putt, which is going to help with some of these birdies. But you need to avoid the bunkers, especially on your third shot. If you're laying up on a par 5 and you have 100 yards, and you cannot be in a bunker. You have to hit the green and be able to 2-putt for par. I think guys will, I don't think par is a bad score here by any means this week. I think it's going to be one that we're not going to see a lot of birdies and eagles on. Longer par 3 here, pretty straightforward. Everything's going to break hard left to right on this green. It's bunkered. Par 3, you make a birdie, that's a win. You make a par, it's great. Dog leg left or right to left. This is actually probably one that we talk about how some of these, there's some of these holes that are shorter, but you're just the way it's set up, you're gonna have to lay up. So I think guys will end up seeing, driver not in their hands here just because of how heavy this dog leg's right to left. You'll see an iron or a hybrid, play it to the middle, have about 185, 175 into this green. The issue is that it's an uphill shot into the green that's elevated. Bunkers, another big ridge that'll kick balls to the left. I would imagine this plays over par. You make a par here, you thank your lucky stars, and you're moving on to 10 where you can make a birdie. This way actually, this course, or this par 5 actually played as the toughest par 5 in 2006. I don't think we see that with the lengthening in number 7. 579, pretty easy drive. Guys should be able to carry these bunkers no problem. Again, find the fairway you're going forward into. That little S at the towards the green is more or less just a visual thing to mess with guys. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. Basically, you're trying to. The only issue is that there really isn't a nice layup spot. So I think guys will kind of be forced into going for it into here, into a green that's not huge, big ridge running through it. Bunkers all 4 sides of it here. So if you miss, you're looking to try to get up and down for par, really. Smallest green on the course here on hole number 11, 438, played over par. Again, a dog leg right to left. Most of these holes are going to be right to left. We will see, like we saw a couple there, left to right, but for the most part, we're looking at a shot shape of right to left. You do need to shape it here. I don't think you'll see many guys hitting driver here. It's about 325 to the far rough at the front of that bunker, but so we might see some guys that are a little more aggressive. Sung JM, people like that, trying to get a little advantage here. Green, couple of big humps through it that if you're not in the right spot, you're looking at a very difficult 2-putt. Finally, we get some water back into play. Like we said, all these par 3s have water into play, but the rest of the course, there's not a ton. So it's not going to be like Liberty where we're seeing a lot of water everywhere. A difficult hole. It's a fairly easy landing area, but you got to be in the right spot. The fairway canters, left to right, which is perfect for this hole. That oak tree by the front, tons of guys are going to hit it, knock their ball down short, especially if they're not in the right place in the fairway. This green bank's hard left to right, funnels balls down into that collection area. If you are in that collection area, it's a pretty steep drop off down towards the water. So we could see some guys that are offline with their approach shot there end up with balls that land on the green or land on the grass or the fairway there and end up in the water. And that's even if you just miss and it runs down there, that's a difficult up and down into a green that's sloped into you. So again, I think the big key here is to avoid that tree on the left, because that's a side bender shot or a chip shot into a green is never fun for anyone. Another par 3 over water. This one is 244 yards. The wind is in play, typically coming from your left. Green's heavily guarded by bunkers. I actually think that depending on where the pin is here, you'll see guys hope that they landed on, but if it goes long, they're not dead. I think that's long is not the worst play in the world here, depending on where the pin is, because I think these bunkers are going to be difficult to get up and down from. Uphill tee shot on this par 5, 605 yards, played under par in 2006. There are a ton of overhanging, these Medinah trees that they talk about, these big oaks that are going to be overhanging a lot of these fairways. You want to be able to get it up to the top of the hill to get a flat shot into this heavily bunkered green. Anything short is going to be bunker for the most part. I think that, and it also goes a little bit downhill there. There's a gully in front of the green before these bunkers. So I really think that the prudent play is probably to just play it into there, uphill chip into a green, try to make your birdie and move on. I think that you go for this in 2, you definitely bring bogey into play. Finally, a par 4 with a little bit of water. This one, depending on where they tee it, and they can definitely change. This says it's going to be on the card as 392. They could play this as 330, right? 320, 305. The tees are there for that. And I think it really depends on kind of how the scoring is going for the week if they're going to do that. Water is definitely in play. This is not a super wide green. I think that we can see guys, might end up in that water if especially if the wind blows. Lay up to 100, have an iron or have a wedge in your hand, but you go long here into that collection area, it's bogey, right? It's a difficult up and down. Hole 16, this is, I think, where we saw, Sergio's famous jump shot from behind the oak trees on the right here, where he hammered that iron trying to get it there, ran up and jumped into the air to see where it was. Played as one of the 50 most difficult holes on tour in 2006. Big slope green, heavily bunkered. You make par here, you're winning, right? 0.31 over par for a par 4 is a very difficult shot. Hole 17, fairly easy flat green, 197 over water downhill. Okay, wind's going to be the issue, and then trying to judge that with you're moving downhill. So how many clubs are you taking off? Or how many are you having to play if it's into the wind? Can be a little difficult math calculation here. Make par, move on. And 18. Okay, I think you can birdie this hole, but it's a good par, right? Tons of pin locations on this big green that are not super difficult, but make for some excitement come Sunday. Anything long here on your approach shot lands in that right collection area, one of those typical Reese Jones collection areas. So. Again, I think this is a course that's it's long, right? But it's going to require a lot of different shots, right? We're going to see guys hitting long irons. We're going to see guys hitting 3-wood off the tee. We're going to see wedges into these greens. We're going to see, guys having to get up and down from these collection areas. You're going to have to be in the right spot off the tee with these overhanging oaks. So really, I think, obviously, we want to focus on strokes gained approach, but I'm going to give driving accuracy a bump this week. I'm going to give strokes gained off the tee a bump this week. And then I think that, as usual, I feel like out of any of the surfaces, bent grass gives guys a little bit of a bump. A Justin Rose or those guys who tend to putt well on bent grass. I think a really good comp course for this is actually Augusta. So guys who play well at the Masters are gonna seem to pop here, I would imagine. And so what I did was I looked at on Fanshare, on our research tool. I said, okay, let's look at the guys in this field. Let's look at the last 10 majors that they played on bent grass. So the last 10 majors that they played on bent grass, you're going to see a lot of Augusta, but some PGA championships popped up in there. A couple, a U.S. Open. But yeah, so we've really what you're going to see is when you look at this, an Augusta leaderboard, right? Brooks, Jordan, Ricky, Xander, Tony, Hideki, who's played well there in the past, Jason Day, Justin Rose, Justin Thomas. Those sort of guys, I think, tend to pop here. I think that as we get down to this time of year, looking at those majors and WGCs and things like that, and looking at, hey, who contends in those events, whether it's on a bent grass or a par 72 or a par 70 or, a Pete Dye course, whatever, it doesn't matter. Just guys who show up in these big events and tend to score well are guys that I want to roster. Brooks is actually my favorite this week. I really think that all of this drama with Bryson is going to propel him to a win this week. Not only that, I think he should be a great course fit, right? We're talking about a long course that requires accuracy off the tee, good iron play. The only thing that concerns me with Brooks is the putter, right? He's struggled on bent in the past, and this isn't always. It seems like if he can contend when his putter's not there, but when his putter's on, he's going to run away. So hopefully we get a good putting week from Brooks. I think coming off the win, even so, Patrick Reed will likely be somewhat chalky this week. Definitely a guy that I'm going to probably avoid. It's always tough after a win. I think maybe another guy, since he had actually a pretty solid weekend outside of Saturday, outside of Saturday where he struggled a little bit. Jordan Spieth might be another guy that ends up getting fairly chalky depending on what the pricing is. It's hard to tell the chalk donkey this early in the week before I get DK pricing and can say, whoa, that guy's way underpriced. He's going to be massively owned. Sleeper here, Ryan Moore. I think Ryan played well this week, and then he's contended here in the past. In 2006, I believe he was ninth. So I think that he's not super long off the tee, but he's going to be accurate. He's great with his long irons. Good short game. When he heats up with the putter, he can contend. So definitely a guy that I'm looking at as a value play for DFS. Anyways, that is what I've got. Again, I think the keys this week are going to be driving accuracy, strokes gained approach. I'm going to give strokes gained off the tee a little bit of bump, and I'm going to look at some bent grass putters this week. I feel like those guys might be, and then guys who contend in these WGCs and majors. Again, if you want to look at corollary courses, I like Augusta, and then I'll have a few more in my write-up as I dig a little bit more into it here this week. As always, give us a follow on Twitter. DFS Up North is me. Fanshare Sports is our account. DK Golf Bargains, Lee Aldrich, again, he'll be tweeting out that link to his under the radar value plays. Definitely somebody that you want to follow and get involved in. So that's what I got for you guys this week. Remember, promo code Josh, 20% off any subscription. NFL is coming up. You're going to want to get in on that. And follow me on Twitter so that you can get into our Fanshare Sports free roll. Good luck this week, and hopefully I gave you some insight into Medinah Country Club, and you can take that and win some big money in DFS this week. Thanks a lot.